I'm going to show you now how to load .RData files into R. .RData files are a way of moving R objects around via email or any other way. They can contain anything in R, whether it's an R object, an R plot, an R data frame. So they're an alternative way to move data around rather than a CSV file. I'm going to show two ways to do this. First, I'm going to save the file and then load it directly, more or less by clicking on the file itself and opening it, and which will cause RStudio to open. And then I'm also going to show an alternative way, which is to open it from within RStudio. So I emailed myself the file, and I'm going to double click on it and save it. And I will just save it to my, I'll just save it to my desktop. Locating the file, because I've opened these types of files before, R puts a little R symbol next to it. Your computer might not always do that if this is the first time you've ever opened a .RData file. But after the first time you open it, R will learn to associate .RData with R in RStudio. So I'm going to right-click on this and go to Open With, and Windows has already learned that these are R files, so it says R for Windows and RStudio. If neither of these came up, or rather if RStudio didn't come up, I would go to Choose Default Programs, and I could try to locate RStudio from a list. And indeed RStudio pops up here. It's possible to browse and try to locate the program that way also. So I'm going to right-click on it, go to Open With, RStudio. RStudio will open up automatically, and the file is here. However, it almost looks like nothing has happened. I just have a blank R screen. But often in R, when nothing happens, that can often mean when you do something and there's no immediate feedback, that might actually mean that it worked perfectly. R tends to tell you when something is wrong quite loudly, whereas when things work, it won't always tell you. So if I go to my console here and I click my cursor in there and then I type ls, which is the list command, and hit enter, it says I have a light object in my R session. And if I type light, I get the readout of the spreadsheet. And this is the data we used for our lab this week, reviewing different R functions. So I've opened up an R data file which contains this light data in it, just as if I had done the read.csv technique for getting data into R. Now I'm going to close down RStudio again. That's going to remove that from my from memory. Then I'll just open up R again to show this other way of opening .RData files, which is to do it directly within RStudio. Now you might run into the problem. You try to right-click on your file, your RData file, and you can't find RStudio coming up anywhere. So you might it might be easier actually to go into RStudio and then to open up the file from there. So I can go here, I can go Open File, and then just locate the file from within RStudio. So I'll go to my desktop, I'll locate the file, and I'll click Open. And it'll give me this message, and I just click yes, I do want to load it into my global, what R calls my global environment. And in this case, I do get a little feedback. It says loading, gives me the file path with light.rdata. And again, I can type ls if I'm skeptical, and I can see that this light object is here. I can type light, and I can get the readout, and I can see that the data is all there. And then, of course, I can start to examine it with my different functions that we use for looking at data with R.